Hello! Today I would like to show you how you can fly over Mars and the Moon in addition to Earth using Google Earth Studio. And it's quite simple. It's all already implemented. You just need to know where, and I'll show you that in this short video. So stay tuned. Yes, and we'll take a look at how that works now. We simply go to the Google Earth Studio website and we then have the option to click on a new project. And that's what we'll do now. And now we know it, as we are otherwise used to when we are using Google Earth Studio, that we can set a project name here. I'll just call it Moon. And then we have the option here to say in which world. Right now, Earth is selected here. Now we have the option to select Moon or Mars instead. We'll select Moon here. Then, as usual, we also have the option to specify the resolution we want and whether to use frames or a time code and how many seconds. That would be 15 seconds now. We'll take that and leave it at 30 frames per second. We can, of course, set it even higher, but we'll leave it at 30 for now. So for our current purposes, that's enough. We'll click on Start. So far, so good. This is now exactly the starting position that we are otherwise familiar with. Down here we have our timeline, our attributes that we can define, how we can move something now. And now I can zoom in again as usual with the mouse using the scroll button. And I'll just zoom in here and then also use my keyboard shortcut. That's Alt and the left mouse button. Then I can change the view perspective here now. And now we theoretically also have the possibility to say, hey, we are moving around here on the Moon. Okay, let's go back again. That means we'll just go back to the starting position here, and there we have the Moon. Okay, this is now our starting value for our animation. So I'll say, let's zoom in a bit more. No, I'll leave it like this, and I'll say, let's stay like this. Exactly, we are now setting all the attributes here, so basically the height, the angle, and how we have just defined it here. So now with just a simple click, we can see the blue dots or markers appear right here. And now as we move further forward along the timeline, let's say after about 2 seconds, I would really like us to zoom in right here. So I'll zoom in further now with the scroll wheel. Yes, let's say up to here. Exactly. Set the values again. Now we scroll further in, deeper in. Now I'm using the Alt key and the left mouse button again to change the perspective. There, exactly now we have the problem. It didn't remember that. That means we should have moved one step further forward here as well. So let's say we're at the 4-second mark. We'll go ahead and do that again. Just hold down the left mouse button and the Alt key, then adjust your perspective and finally zoom in a bit closer using the scroll wheel. We're going to do that now. We'll zoom in a bit more. And now, as I said, we'll change the perspective with Alt and the left mouse button. Just like that. Perfect. Now we'll set a marker here. Now let's go ahead and move forward a little bit more in time, and for this next part, we'll go up to 7 seconds. Now, I am using the scroll wheel once again, zooming in just a bit more, and then using the left mouse button to drag it further down here, to add some extra movement to the scene. So this is basically what I want to see here. That's where it should go. And I'd like to take a closer look at that now. So left mouse button again and hold down Alt, change the perspective, change the viewpoint. And now we've created exactly the same problem as before. We should have gone one step further already. And that's what we're going to do now. And now we are going to zoom in closer, and then we will shift the perspective and change the angle entirely. So far, so good. And now we move further forward. Of course, we really have to adjust the timeline here first as well, and then after that, we can finally go exactly where we want to go, which is right here. Exactly, set the timeline, the attributes. Let's go to 13 seconds now. Zoom back a little bit with the scroll wheel on your mouse. And at the very end, I want to have the starting position back again, but with the angle changed. That means, once more, hold the Alt key, click the left mouse button right here, and as I said, just change the angle and then move it back to the starting position. But I would like to have it like this. Okay, now let's take a look at that. How does it look? We can play it with the spacebar or by clicking play up here with the mouse. Exactly, and now you can see it's zooming in. It follows precisely the path that we just defined. It takes a moment to look closely at this crater, then it turns back up again, and finally we have this full view once more. Exactly, that is precisely what I was looking for. It is absolutely perfect. We can also take a look at the whole thing in full screen. Now let's go back. Let's click on this here. Exactly. Now we have multiple perspectives. We have a dual perspective here now. We can see that on the left. The display of what the camera movement is like. And here too, we can influence the whole thing. That means we'll go over here now. We can see the path he's traveling on the left. If we find that we don't particularly like something in that area, we can intervene right here. Just hold down the mouse button and we can correct the whole thing accordingly to get it right. So with that adjustment, let's go back. Exactly. I'll leave it as it is right now. We can switch to full screen here now. As I said, let's just do that. We'll let it run here for now. That already looks great, looks fantastic. And you can already see just how truly magnificent our moon looks from here, sweeping gracefully over the crater and then gliding back again. Honestly, that is exactly the kind of view I was hoping for. So far, so good. We'll go back now. But now we have actually noticed something quite interesting, or maybe not. I am going to click on render, and as you can see here now, we have a bit of a problem. It's saving this as an image sequence now. That means every single frame is saved individually as an image file, and we would then have to combine them into a video afterwards because Google doesn't allow us to create an MPEG-4 video directly here. This means that rendering the video in the cloud is simply not possible for us in this environment. That's a bit inconvenient, of course. I don't like it, but that's how it is. That means if we go ahead and navigate to start here and simply say allow, we can see right here now that the frames from 0 to 450 are being saved, or rather they are being rendered out. And then once that process is complete, we can save them afterwards. Exactly. Now it's doing that too. And that, of course, always takes a little bit of time accordingly. Once it has finished the whole thing, I'll fast forward a bit. Yeah, that is about it. Now that the system has created it, we can take another look at the whole thing under the Render tab, just as we defined it back then, and we can also adjust it again right here. But we don't really want to do that right now. That means we can simply download it, save it as a JPEG file, and then just load it directly into our video editing program. But honestly, I am someone who is a bit more savvy when it comes to these kinds of workflows. Who says, why should I put myself through that? You can just go right over here, and then up here, we can select full screen. Up there, you'll see the full screen option, and then I just go ahead and use my screen capture software. There are so many different ones out there, you know, so for the screen recording, I simply let the video play right here and record it all quite easily and straightforwardly. Yes, that works too, of course. That also works in the small view, of course, if we go here into the preview. So that works just the same. So right here, if we were to do it here now, right, but that's not really desired because you can see there's no Google logo visible there. So let's say, well, actually, there are quite a few different ways that you can potentially get around that specific issue. But I don't want to show that here. That's just an illegal thing, and that we don't want that here. We're keeping things peaceful here. All right, that's it for the topic of the moon. And while we're at it, we could theoretically do the exact same thing right here by simply creating a brand new project from the ground up. Let's say for a moment that we don't call it the moon, but instead we call it Mars. There too, we'll go to Mars instead of the moon. And let's say, again, here, we won't use frames. I want to see the time code, 15 seconds. I'll just leave it set at 1920 by 1080, and then I'll go ahead and say start. Exactly. We'll do this relatively quickly here too, just like before. Start here, set a keyframe. We'll start by moving forward a few seconds to this point, then we'll zoom in on Mars, or rather towards Mars, and set another keyframe. Next, we'll advance the timeline by another 2 seconds, zoom in a bit more, and set yet another keyframe. Moving a little further forward, we'll adjust the viewpoint by holding down the Alt key and using the left mouse button. Then we'll press the keyframe button again to lock that in. Continuing further along the timeline, we'll zoom in even closer with the mouse button, deciding that this is exactly where we want to be. Then we'll jump another 2 seconds forward and change the perspective once more. So far, so good. Now we'll perform a rotation and make sure we have a bit of the horizon visible in the background. Exactly. And from there, we'll continue moving further over to that side and then turn back just a little bit. Let's say we move from this point over to here and then also over there. And finally, right at the very end, we pan back to the original view of Mars. That is what I would like. So bam, hop. And what does that look like? In small. Yes, that is exactly as I wanted it to look. Zoom in, rotate the angle, go further in, leave the whole thing just as it is, rotate and go back, and that will then basically be displayed from the origin again. Yes, that is exactly what I was looking for. So far, so good. Yes, since we're at it and have already shown it, let's make it big. Also there, we hit play or the space bar. The camera begins by zooming in closely, then it smoothly rotates before pulling back in again. Next, it shifts the viewing angle toward the left, revealing the distant horizon line, and finally, it gracefully pans back to return to the original starting position. Yes, and also, as I mentioned before, the simplest option available to us is that we could just use a screen recorder to capture the whole thing right here and then process it later. Alternatively, we can say, again, go to the render settings, and there we can specify that we want to save the entire project, or we could simply leave it exactly as it is right now in this current view, and we could theoretically go over here and copy the whole thing out using some external software. At least we have the Google Earth copyright image source there, and that is then legally not as difficult as if we didn't have it there. Exactly. Nice, nice, nice. Well done. Yes, that was it from my side again. I just wanted to show that besides Google Earth, we can of course also animate the Earth, the Moon, and also Mars accordingly. It's done relatively quickly. You saw it. It's not magic at all. It's done relatively quickly. If you like videos like this, feel free to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for the next videos I'm making. I have a lot more in store for you, and I really wish you a nice day. Hope to see you again soon.